Dave, we've got a message through from Jane to say that she's live. We're live now.
We're live now. Okay. Right. Good afternoon and welcome to Schools Forum. I'm Dave Jones and I'm the chair. Members of the public are invited to view this meeting online and the meeting is recorded. Forum members are requested to keep your cameras on during the meeting, but only turn on your microphones when you wish to speak. If you have any questions or comments to make in the reports, please use the chat function and simply state RTS, request to speak. Officers, please keep your cameras off until you're called to speak. Please can I ask everyone taking part today to confirm that they are present. Okay, so we've got Jackie Collins.
Yep, I'm here.
Me, Simon Graham. Haven't seen. No Simon. Cher.
Yes, I'm here.
We have apologies from Sean Preston. Laura Flitton.
Here.
Thank you. Apologies from Anne Hibbert. Joe Cooper.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, Joe. Nis, I can see.
Yes, I'm here.
You. We have apologies from Mark Garlick. Nathan.
Yeah, I'm here.
Sharon Burt.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here.
Right, thank you, Sharon. Very quiet. Councillor Tom Coles. No. Councillor Terry Norton. No. Apologies from Councillor Simpson. Chris Cademy.
Yeah.
Cara Gill. No. Sarah Daly.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Sarah. Mike Stoneman.
Yeah, I'm here.
Sam Bushby.
So the question is, if James is into football.
No. Angela Mann.
I'm here.
Alison Edgerton.
Yes, I'm here.
Susie Horton.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, and as I said, there was one. Anyone who's not on our list at the moment, we've got Andrew, who's on the list, and I can see Councillor Leo Madden.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Alison, apologies for absence.
Yes, I've got apologies for absence from Mike Garlick, Councillor Simpson, Sean Preston and Anne Hibbard.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any, does anybody need to make a declaration of a change or anything pertaining to the agenda? No, thank you. Alison, is there any updates there?
I've got 2 outstanding and I'll be following those up.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, membership, Alison.
Okay, so we've got no new members at this meeting. We have one tenure that is due to come to an end before the next meeting in May, and that's Cara Jewell from the early years representation. I am in correspondence with Cara with regarding to her tenure, and I'll be going out to early years providers in the not too distant future. We still have 4 vacancies. We have 1 maintained secondary governor representative, which I'm in conversation with the maintained secondary schools about, 1 primary academy representative and 2 secondary academy representatives, and I will continue to follow up and trying to get some volunteers for those.
Thank you, Alison. Okay, item 4, minutes of the previous meeting. So we need to ensure this is a correct record of the meeting held on the 11th of January. Are members happy that these are a correct record. Please put RTS if you've got any comments. No, okay. So the minutes of the previous meeting have therefore been approved. Are there matters arising from the last minute? I believe there are a couple, Alison.
Yes, there were two matters arising. One was whether the minimum funding level for Key Stage 4 pupils at the UTC has a different weighting than pupils in a secondary school. So I just really wanted to clarify for members. We do list all the minimum pupil level rates in the document for completeness. But with regards to the secondary school minimum funding level, that's calculated on a weighted average of Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 values. The authority has no schools that are solely Key Stage 3, but the University Technical College covers years 10 to 13, and as an authority we're responsible for paying years 10 and 11 funding, and that's why we use the Key Stage 4 minimum funding level. For the post-16 funding, that's funded completely separately, directly to the college through the Education and Skills Funding Agency. So hopefully that will clarify everything for people. I think, Niz, you've got a...
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, can I just clarify with you, Alison, that the Key Stage 4 funding level for students at the UTC is the same as the Key Stage 4
Yes.
funding level for students in secondary schools? There's no
Absolutely.
difference?
There's no difference. It's set nationally and we have to pay the same value. Okay, the second matters arising was whether the PAN in our growth scheme, about whether it was above the agreed PAN. I think just really, again, for clarification, the Department for Education have the statutory guidance for growth is it states that growth funding is for mainstream schools and is only to be used for growth in pre-16 numbers to meet basic need. Now, there's no definitive definition of basic need, but as an authority, we get a basic need capital grant that supports the capital expansion of schools. So we use PAN as an indicator that growth is happening because of basic need and sufficiency requirements in the city. So if the PAN increases, it's because the basic need and the need for further sufficiency spaces has increased. So I'm hoping that clarifies it.
Thank you, Alison. Any further questions on that element? Okay, that's great. Thank you, Alison. We can move on to item 6, the dedicated schools grant budget. And I think, Angela, you've taken us through this one?
I am, thank you, Dave. So this report seeks endorsement for the budgets for the financial year 23-24. Appendix 1 sets out the whole of the dedicated schools grant, which includes the schools block, the central school services block, and the early years blocks that we've already reported on. And the rest of this report focuses on the high needs budget. So as we reported in last month, there are two key changes to the high needs block for 23-24. We have to take into account this additional grant, which we've been told the specific methodology, and it's contained in the report. And we also had to consider a minimum funding guarantee for the special schools of plus 3%. But that's based on the 21-22 funding and not 22-23. So the report sets out that our additional grant of 3.4 that for both special schools and alternative provisions settings for the city will be paid separately and actually doesn't form part of the element 3 payment. Then in terms of the element 3 funding, our guidance said that we had to add 3% as minimum funding guarantee to the 21-22 element 3 bands for special schools. So we've looked at that, and we also looked at and compared it to what we'd actually paid for special schools in 22-23. And we found that we'd still paid more to special schools in 22-23 because of the supplementary grant that we'd paid out. So we've added that amount per school as well to the band, to the element 3 bands, to try and get to sort of a 22-23 base position. And then on top of that, we've added an extra 3% onto those band rates. But I accept it's quite complicated because of how we've had to build up the rates because of the rules. In terms of the proposed element 3 values, they're in Appendix 2. Then for inclusion centres and mainstream schools, element 3, we've tried to provide equity again by increasing the band rates by 6.4%. And that's the equivalent of 3% inflation, which we've added to the special schools banding, and also the 3.4% additional grant that they receive as a separate grant. And we've also added a flat rate of £204 per band, which represents the 3.4% increase in the additional grant that special schools were getting which is the 204 is 3.4% of 6,000 place funding or notional send in mainstream schools, which is what special schools will receive by the additional grant in 23-24. Then for alternative provision settings, again, we've tried to ensure equity, but because of how the funding's built up, we've done it slightly differently. In addition to the additional grant that they've got of 3.4% on both their place funding and their element 3, we've also allocated 3% inflation to their band rates. And we are also proposing to keep paying the equivalent of the supplementary grant in 23-24 as a separate grant. And that's because for the element 3, schools tend to pay a lot of the element 3. So we've kept this amount in the high needs block and not transferred it to schools. But that's why we've done it slightly differently compared to the special schools. And the values that we're proposing are in Appendix 2. The report also details the other proposals that we've got for the high needs budgets. Some of the main things that I just want to point out to yourselves are we've increased the budget for the outer city placements because we see an increasing complexity of need for the pupils that are being placed out of city. And whilst the numbers we anticipate won't increase a lot because of all the investment in the special school places in the city, we are predicting an increase in cost of those placements. We've also increased the budget for the Early Years Inclusion Fund complex needs because the numbers of children that it covers we're expecting to increase, and we're forecasting the same increases we've seen in 22-23. And as you're probably aware, this is sort of in line with the investment that's been put into the Portage team because we're seeing an increase in numbers for those children in those age groups. And the other budget that we've increased as well is the sensory impairment, and that's for additional communicators that we're going to need from September 2023 per the information that we've been given by our inclusion colleagues. The final thing that is of note is that we're proposing to use 0.7 million of the DSG carry forward to fund the Wimmering School opening because of the lag that we get in our funding, and that we've previously reported in quite a few of the schools forum reports. So those are the main high level bits of the report, but you know, I am aware that it is quite complicated, so I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, has anybody got any questions or comments? Okay, all very quiet. Share. Oh. Share.
Hi, sorry, is my microphone working okay?
Yeah, it is now.
Good, because it says it isn't. Okay, that's excellent. I just wanted to check something. I think I know the answer, but in the recommendations that we're to be endorsing, so 2.1.3, at the end of it, it says about funding Wimmering School, and then it says and fund any potential financial pressures arising in 23-24. That means pressures in the high needs sector, doesn't it? Not broadly.
Correct, yes.
I just wanted to clarify that, otherwise it sounds like it's an open-ended promise, which it isn't.
I mean, potentially we flagged it, I suppose, in the January report as well, but the early years is never quite known because of how we get funded and how we distribute the money. But so it'd be those two things rather than the schools block.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nis.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the paragraph 6.6. Is that an appropriate time to ask about that? And just, I think that's what Cher was alluding to, but I would welcome some of the balance of 1.3 million to cover future revenue costs. I think I would welcome a little bit more understanding of that figure, and also the further understanding of the 1.993 million contingency to manage in-year pressures as well. I think if you could just give a little bit more detail around those, that would help my understanding better.
So the 1.9 million contingency is the same as what we had last year. It's 1% of the whole of the funding in case there's unexpected things that happen during the year. We do have some very high cost places that we're now having to fund. So we think it's prudent to have some sort of contingency from the DSG carry forward in case those things happen, and to sort of manage from one year to another. So, and sorry, I think that's the same. It's just roundings, isn't it? I think that.
But in the table in 6.8, there's the 1.3 million, 1.293 million, which is around the future revenue costs associated with new high needs places.
Yeah.
And then the other amount is just a general contingency to manage in-year pressures, which is the 1% of overall DSG funding that you just talked about.
So sorry, the 1.993 is the 2 million that was referred to in 6.4. The 1.293 is the known places that we're planning for in future years that we have a lag for in our funding. So there'll be like part year effect of places and full year effect of places that we we won't have got funding in our in-year funding for. So it's a bit like Wimmering. So we know that we're increasing our places in inclusion centres, but our funding won't catch up in time. So if nothing happens to the high needs block, then there's indications that it is less likely to go up now by the amounts that it has, in the last few years. In order to fund the extra places that we know colleagues have planned, because of the growth in EHCPs, we will need that 1.3 million. So that's why we've taken it into account here, because in terms of how the high needs formula works, we won't automatically get that until those pupils have actually been counted for in the census.
Okay, so the 1.293 million and the 0.747 million, which is for Wimmering,
Yes.
they're the 2 million from 6.4, and then the 1.993 is in addition to that.
Yeah. It is, yeah. Sorry, yes, so you're right, sorry. The 6.4 is those two, and I don't know why we always get the same figures. Talking to Alice about the 3% inflation that we've done, and it's all very similar to the MFG and the additional grant. Sorry, yes, the contingency to managing year pressures is hopefully we won't need that, but we have tried to distribute all of the funding that we've got in year to maximise the inflationary amounts. But we think we do need to have that 2 million in the GSG carry forward as a buffer, just in case anything does happen.
Right, so that's an additional 2 million. Oh, sorry, there's an echo there. So that's an additional 2 million in relation to the other 2 million. So that's 4 million altogether contingency for potentially transfer to the high needs block. Is that what we're saying? Have I got that right?
So the Wimmering, we are transferring, and it's part of the high needs block.
Mm-hmm.
The 1.3 is needed for future places that we are commissioning, that we're building as part of our capital programme. And depending on what happens for future funding, we might need that to come out of the carry forward, because we won't be able to afford it with the funding that we have in year until everything catches up. And then the 2 million is, we're not planning on transferring it anywhere where that is still in the carry forward, but it's just flagging that will be there if there are additional in-year pressures.
Okay. And are there any, I know at one stage a few years ago, and I've lost track, there were restrictions on how much we could move between the DSG and the high needs block. Are there still restrictions that we have to work to, or are we in a more fluid situation now?
So in terms of the restrictions that came in was on the schools block. So you couldn't move from anything from the schools block out, but the restriction wasn't there to move high needs or early years funding. And that still exists, but I don't think any councils do have requested that. But yeah, the restrictions only on the schools block, but there's I think we mentioned it in the report last time. We weren't planning on transferring any money out of the schools block to here.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Nis. Thank you, Angela. Sharon, you've got a question.
Yeah, just really wanted to say thank you to Angela and the team, because this has been quite a complex piece of work, and due to the level of complexity, we've taken the opportunity to speak to Angela and the team before this meeting, just to drill down on some of the specifics, because obviously that takes a bit of time, and probably more time than exists in this forum. So we've got no further queries on that, and just wanted to say a huge thank you for the piece of work that's been done there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Well said. It was very complex. I got a headache reading this. I'm going to tell you. Okay. Any further questions or comments? No. Okay. In that case, these are for endorsement. So, do I have a proposer to approve the endorsements? Thank you, Chair. And a seconder? Thank you, Nis. Okay, so the endorsements have been proposed and seconded. I'll now take the vote by affirmation. The meeting is permitted within the regulations. If there's no dissent, the proposal is passed. Are there any objectors to this recommendation? Okay, no dissent, so Schools Forum have approved this endorsement. Thank you very much. Okay, item 7, dates of future meetings. It's recommended the following meeting dates be agreed. I think you can see them, hopefully you can all see them on your minutes. The next one being Wednesday, the 24th of May. I would assume that everybody's happy with those, or if they aren't, they can't make them, they contact Alison. So that is the end of the meeting. Unless there's anything I need to do, Alison? Still checking? No. Thanks everybody for attending today. Hope you all have a good half term, those of you who get it. Jane will end the live stream and let you know when we are off air. And this will take a couple of minutes, so please don't start any conversations, otherwise they will be broadcast.